In the village of Kamuketo in West Pokot district, a dusty, neglected part of Kenya, some 500 kilometers from the capital city of Nairobi, Chepto used to get up every morning before dawn and carry her water containers in search of water. She walked over 10 kilometers to bring water back home. If water were really scarce, especially during the annual dry season, she would take her younger daughter with her to bring back as much water as possible before it ran out. There was only enough water for drinking and basic cooking. Bathing was not a priority, maybe only once a week. Looking for water was a daily, repetitive, yet crucial exercise. In this arid region, water is so rare that the people of this community would have to compete with bees for available water, oftentimes being stung repeatedly. Now, several years later, following the construction of a sand dam by CWS and its partner, Yangat, Chepto can get water right within the community, and her daughter can go to school regularly. Now the community has water, and families are even able to grow and harvest vegetables, which they never had before. Chepto's daughter does not have to travel far to school anymore, since she can now go to school closer, built by the parents right in the community. The bees that were a constant threat and pest are now being used by the community to produce honey as additional income. Although these are positive developments, the effects of climate change or erratic weather patterns will wash these gains away. For women like Chepto, water and food will become scarcer as rainfall becomes increasingly unpredictable unless they are assisted. This is what we know. With an increasing world population, food production will need to double over the next 40 years. 70% of our fresh water is used for agriculture production. Therefore, increasing food production will increase water demand as well. By 2050, there will be 40% less arable land due to soil salinity, soil erosion, and so on. We could go on, but these basic facts indicate that an increased population will require more food that will require more water to produce food for consumption on less arable land. Pollution, deforestation, and use of finite resources in Western countries impacts weather patterns that directly affect vulnerable people like Chepto, who are extremely dependent on the land, rain, and the environment for their survival. More emphasis is needed in preparing communities to adapt and live with the increasing changes in the weather. Just as successful businesses need a certain amount of initial capital to survive and develop, communities also need to have the necessary social capital to enable them to invest in the development of their own families and communities. More energy and effort needs to take place to replicate and help build these basic building blocks within rural and marginalized communities. In social development, it is a process of using community knowledge, skills, and organization that is more important than the final product. Long-lasting community development can only happen within a community and not from the outside. Thus, change can only take place within a community when people within a community are invested in contributing their gifts to the development effort. To help facilitate this process, CWS East Africa uses an asset-based community development approach focused on building resilience and empowerment within communities by enabling them to build on their knowledge, skills, and other capacities that they already possess, instead of encouraging dependence on handouts. What needs to be done? While it is important to continue the dialogue at a global level on agreements on carbon emissions, more energy, time, and resources are needed to invest directly within vulnerable communities to ensure they are water and food secure. If communities or countries are not water secure, they will not be food secure. If communities and countries are not secure in water and food, conflicts will erupt. Why should I be involved to help people who are far away from me? I can go to the supermarket and get my food. I turn on the faucet and have water. Why do I need to be concerned? Simply, there are two reasons. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights talks of the equality of humankind, in that all people should have the sustainable basic rights such as right to water, food, healthcare, and education. This is further spelled out in the Millennium Goals and other relevant documents. Yet the effect of climate change is reducing the ability for vulnerable people to have their rights fulfilled as getting food and water, and thus health and education becomes more difficult. From a humanistic point of view, limited resources tend to spark increased conflict over those resources, resulting in people moving to other areas. This puts more pressure on the limited resources in these areas, sparking more violence, and the cycle of destruction continues. We are seeing this now as some West Africans do whatever they can to reach Europe to try and improve their lives. The lack of basic healthcare in marginalized regions of the world may lead to an outbreak of a disease to other geographical regions, and so on. We are seeing this with the H1N1 virus and the SARS virus of a few years ago. What will be next as transportation makes it easier for people to move quickly around the world? Do you want to leave the world a better place for your children? Don't look at climate change as some abstract theory. Seize the moment and help people like Cheptoo in rural and marginalized communities to have basic clean water and enough food to live. This is the beginning step. Do it because it is the right thing to do. Do it because of your children. Do it because we need to survive.